Thank you all. So let's quickly start our fireside chat. So I would like to invite our moderator, Mr. Venkat Reddy Chirala, who is our principal business consultant at Infosys. He is also a technology and business leader with over 20 years of experience in digital and enterprise agile transformation, agile coaching, and practicing management. He is also our immediate past president. I would like to invite Venkat Reddy Chirala to come onto the stage. So next, I would like to introduce Ms. Parul Bhargava, who is an agile transformation coach and lean agile practitioner at ThoughtWorks with over 15 years of experience. So her work has taken her to 5 continents and allowed her to experience and apply her knowledge in various industries, including e-commerce, healthcare, manufacturing, banking, oil and gas. So we welcome Ms. Parul onto the stage. Not over yet, guys. We have to move. So next, I would like to introduce Lisha Rakesh, who is a senior director in Capgemini. She carries a 17 years of experience in the IT industry. She specializes in IT consulting, solutions, and the service delivery of complex engagements. Thank you, Lisha. So next, I would like to introduce Tirupati Rao, who is the chief architect, vice president, and global head of DAC of Scientific, an accomplished senior technology executive having over 20 years of experience with a proven track record for building and leading industry-class software products and frameworks to support automation needs of transactional intensive enterprise. Welcome, Tirupati Rao. So I would like to introduce our next panelist, who is Sirisha Payeti. So she's having with over 2 decades in the IT service industry. Sirisha is embraced in diverse roles and collaborated with clients worldwide across various domains. She is dedicated problem solver with a profound commitment to understanding and empathizing with customers. It's a privilege to have all these industry specific leaders on the stage. Over to you, Venkat. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shashu. So it's very pleasure to be back here on the stage after last Agile conference, and talking to the 4 talented individuals here on the very topic of the theme of this discussion. And first of all, thanks to Ashutosh, for keeping us all awake with interesting scenarios and the coaching styles. And let's deep dive into the topic. I think as you hear the introductions, I'm not sure how many of you followed. Very talented individuals we have here and very diverse background. So we have Parul, who is an enterprise transformation coach, and she worked in organizations like Wipro. We have Lisha, so she's from Capgemini, and she worked on extensive experience at testing and consulting and so on and so forth. We have Tirupati, who is a technologist and an entrepreneur himself. He started an entrepreneur journey long back, and same case with Shirisha. So she is also an entrepreneur. And we get to hear the exact phrases you see, the startup, and we are covering startup entrepreneurs, enterprise talented individuals as well. So let's try to hear, because so if you look at very high level about this topic, we all know how important a customer is, right? So we all know what is agility. I don't think how to explain how important a customer is, how important agility is. So because I think most of us, I would say predominantly maybe from IT background and other organizations as well, from project management background. So we know what agility is. We know, obviously, we know that what customer centric is. So, but what the other things that we can talk about in this discussion. Let's try to hear from these individuals what exactly if you combine customer centric and agility. So that's where the customer centric agility is born, right? So that's where how we can make miracles with this customer centric agility approach in our organizations. So we try to understand right from basics. What is customer-centric agility? Any specific customer-centric initiatives that can actually bring in success with their experience? Any customer-centric initiatives in their organizations they followed, which actually brought in success? We'll also talk about why it is important, right? So we need to, any specific topic we deep dive, especially the theme of this conference, we need to understand what, why, how we enable the customer-centric agility. So then there are different dimensions we can talk about: enabling technology as an enabler, and there could be leadership as an enabler. So we can talk about how these different dimensions vary from a startup to an enterprise. So this is all I'm going to, at least my outline about what I wanted to discuss with them. But if any questions from any of you, feel free to ask. And we have a dedicated time of 10 minutes towards the end, where you can ask any questions to any of the panel member here, but not to me. Okay, they are the experts here today. So let's start with the what. Okay, so we understand, customer, as I mentioned, we understand customer centric and agility. I think let's start with Parul. She comes from the transformation, and I think Ashutosh talked about coaching styles and all that. We can very much relate to her that. So try to understand how do you define what exactly for you is customer centric agility is, and any specific customer centric initiatives that you can quote some examples.
Definitely. So thank you, Venkat. Hello, everyone. So before I define customer centricity, let's go back to where it came from, the origin of the word. So it was 70 years ago, Peter Drucker defined customer centricity, where he said that the customer is the one who decides what the business is, what the product is, and whether it will prosper or not. And it was during that time, in I think 1960s, that he said that Ford is one of the most customer-centric organizations. And the reason was that earlier products were made for everyone. There was the same customer base. But it was the first time where Ford said, we are going to invest in segmenting the market, and we are going to create products as per customer needs. So they had a product like a Ford Falcon, which was for budget users, and they had a Mustang for the rich adults. Fast forward to today, post-pandemic, the technology is fast changing. There is disruption in the market. Consumer behavior is changing every day. And in that environment, customer-centric agility is vital. So what is customer-centric agility? Customer-centric agility is not just a mindset or a cultural shift. In my opinion, it is organizational strategy where customer is at the heart, where you are looking at the needs of the customer, making sure that the rapid changes are included in that. And as you were asking, an example. So I was working for an American MNC, which wanted to extend its e-commerce in Russia. And what it was seeing is that there was a lot of shopping cart abandonment. There were so many returns, and they was just not understanding. And what they did was, they did obviously some customer research. They even looked at their competitors. And what they found was that Russians, as people, they want to keep cash. So cash on delivery was a very important option that they were looking for. And also there are people who need to be called if you are sending delivery people. So with that, they made sure that this is the agility part, that if there is a change, we're going to make sure that we look into these aspects, and we are going to give a seamless experience around all the touch points. So cash on delivery was part of their website. They also made sure that call centers were catering to 6 time zones because they wanted to be called. And the third thing they did was they enabled their delivery partners so that they allow cash on delivery. So having customer centricity and agility, they were able to increase their sales 15% year on year. And that's what I say, that that is why customer centricity is important, and this is my what. Thank you.
A great answer, Parul. So really appreciate that. I think if I can summarize, you're talking of customer centricity as a strategy. No, it's not just an initiative or process we talk about. So that's how we need to look at customer centric as a strategy. Should be very well integrated to each and every activity we do. So that's the key point I can take here from answer. So let's understand others. You also on the same question. If I go across to Shirisha. So you come from startup, and also you worked on organizations like Signity for quite a long time as well. So if you can explain your viewpoint, Shirisha, and what exactly the customer-centric agility is, and any specific examples you can bring forward from startup and.
Yeah, sure. This is agility. The fact that my mic, I couldn't figure out how to switch on the mic and somebody passes it to me. Because if I don't answer this in the next 5 minutes, people will move on to the next person, right? So yeah, agility is important. Again, the customer expectations, everything that Parul said is absolutely critical. But generally, I guess, in the digital world that we live in today, we build something for bringing in efficiencies or improving the experience of the customer. There's predominantly those two things that we play with, right? So what's so different? Of course, the speed, the agility with which we develop stuff. But I think there is a slight expansion of the word customer itself. So the customer today is not just one person that you sell something to. There's a lot of stakeholders involved in the overall ecosystem because it's digital. So when we were building a product for a South African customer, this was a hospital management system. So this is a nurse-led clinic. So you're talking about the end patients. Of course, they need a mobile application for scheduling appointments, looking at their vitals, etc. But you're also talking about nurses who are going to be using Android tablets to move around, right? It's a nurse-led clinic. You can't go to a particular place and get your stuff done. You need to be on the move constantly. So the definition of customer-centric agility right now is doing it at pace, but doing it at the pace that applies for different stakeholders in the ecosystem. So you're not just limited to one person that you're finally selling your product to. So it's all a marketplace these days. So that's, I think, one big difference that we're seeing in how this word and the definition have evolved over time. So that's my take on the word, I guess. Yeah.
Thanks, Shirisha. I think you mentioned one valid point. So where defining customer itself is becoming very complex task nowadays, right? So if you look at either any, I think that one example she quoted, the hospital side. So defining the customer is the key. So sometimes there could be not only the end customer. So here we're talking about nurses and other partners also as customers. So defining that stakeholder list of who actually comes under the customer is very critical. So once you target, we talk about customer centricity and how exactly customer experience later, but defining that customer is the key point at the beginning. Okay, so that's how you can start with, then look at your efficiency and all that from the customer centric standpoint. So let's hear from another gentleman here who is also head of digital architecture at Scientific. So from your side, Tirupati, how do you see this? So what exactly from, especially from the technology standpoint also, how do you look at customer centricity and customer centric and agility also combined?
Yeah, thanks, Venkat. Thank you, PMI Hyderabad. I think it's an honor to be here and share my thoughts, in this exciting and interesting topic about customer centric and agility. Okay, so if I say, like, going by the topic for a startup, just I want to define it in one line, what it is all about. It is all about leveraging and adapting the technology advancement to meet the customer needs. Just as simple as that. But nothing is a linear algebra in this, world of, multi-dimensional game, right? So what is about? I would give a different perspective. I had a wonderful, two perspectives here. I say there is a verticality to it, there is a horizontality. So verticality with respect to an organization. I define it in 5 aspects. Okay, let us say meeting the need. Need is the first aspect. Once you fulfill the need, how do you support it? How do you personalize it? How do you make it is available? How do you secure it? The agility in these 5 dimensions with verticality is important. But is it sufficient? No. There is an horizontal aspect to it, which is a collaboration. That means the organization should look beyond a specific entity area. That's why the aggregators in multi-dimension, now you take up an app, right? You can book your cab, order your food, order your ingredients for your kitchen, whatnot. Even clothing, you can book a flight ticket. Aggregators helps. It is a one pane of glass solution. So what is this 5 aspects? I think small examples if I have to take, right? The business and organization's journey is like they are just sailing in an ocean or a sea. There is no highways, there is no signboards, there is no radium stickers. You're just going. Customer centricness is about holding the compass and understanding which direction you are navigating. And what is this agility about? Agility about, I think it's not speed. I think we have been discussing, I think, very nice points. It's not about speed. Then why agility always? Once we know, okay, the customer is dynamically changing, his needs are changing. Why don't we predict? We are predicting everything. Why don't we predict and do the things in advance, be in a relaxed state? What is an agility is all about? The customer, just require what is needed at that time. It is not about providing the holistic or idealistic solution. It is sizing what the customer needs at that particular time, not less, not more. So the customer needs are not very static or predictable. The customer evolves as he gets to use one aspect, evolves further, evolves further. So the agility is about understanding this and taking the product or services and offerings to map it to that. So how do you do that? How do you size it? The word size, I think if I get time, I can emphasize further. It's very, very important aspect. And to just speak about the other four things, I say support is all about how you can leverage AI, ML, Gen AI these days to make it more automated rather than just a call service we make for a credit card or a banking, right? You don't need to stand. It is more personalized. Okay, making, more data analytics, the data-driven automation. We are talking about how to personalize the things, okay? And you talk about availability, the hyperscalers. You call on a 31st, which is coming, and you see that you cannot speak to your loved ones. It's not right? But one service, let us say, can do that. You hook onto this service, you can talk to your loved one. You see how much your customer base will improve the very next day. Okay, these are the things around security. Security for bonus, warranty, guarantee, and privacy is important. This is a brief I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tirupati. I think one definitely I can add to it, especially understanding customer pain points at any particular point of time. It is not always static. So the customer challenges and the customer environment keeps on changing. I worked on a project long back, wherein we worked to the timelines and very hard weekends and all that. The team had put in a lot of effort. After 6 months, so when we actually demo to the client that this is what the deliverable agreed as upon to the scope, that is 6 months or almost close to 8 months back, the client said simply one statement, that is a throwaway quote. We can't use it. It happens in our projects and it happens in our organization. So because the key challenge, the key point that Tirupati mentioned is very much valid, especially in agility, the focus is on customer. So you need to travel along with customer. We cannot say that, I follow the standard IPCC, I fix my scope at the beginning of the project and I travel through the same scope till the end of the project. That is not valid statement at all in case of agility we talk about. So the first manifesto statement we look at, our highest priority is customer satisfaction by continuous delivery and value delivery, right? That is our first principle in Agile manifesto we talk about. Yes or no? So we need to understand the customer pain points, travel along with customer and try to see what exactly the customer environment is changing, and we need to align to that. Okay, so let's try to hear from Lisa as well. So Lisa, you come from the similar background. I am in a very large consulting organization, and our focus is always on billability. So that's the keyword we use day in, day out. How many, we look at people as how many billable, that is into one group, how many not billable, that section into another group. Okay, billable, unbillable. Unbillable, how many days? So 1 month is okay. 2 months, what happened? Red flag. 3 months, 4 months, then obviously we need to take next steps. Okay, so this always the focus is on billable and unbillable revenue, all this. I would say a big tantrum. But in this process, sometimes we lose focus on the keywords that we are talking here: customer centricity, agility, and all that. So how do you see that? Do you agree with that? And similar experiences maybe from your...
So you have ignited the fire now, I think.
So this is a fireside chat.
Yes, exactly. Till now it was very calm. I think now the fire will start. I'll take the controversial part of your question later. But since morning when I've heard different people talk about, I heard Jay, Shravan talk about the linear, circular, aspect around the customer-centric agility. I heard the horizontal and the vertical. Let me put a 360-degree spin to customer-centric agility. Now, when I look at it, there is again an inward and an outward view to it. The inward view is basically how do you get the right understanding or insight on your customer, which is very important. I think we talked about it, understanding the need. Don't sell the customer what you have. Ensure that what you bring on the table is what the customer wants on the table, right? So bringing in that view, understanding what is keeping your customer awake at night, understanding what is the success criteria, does your customer define success, are your KPIs and the customer's KPI are in line, right? So that is how you look at it from an inward perspective. Now, looking at all of those insights, information, how do you process that information is where the agility perspective comes into picture. Where the speed also matters is that all of this insight is with you, and how do you really process that to produce better, uh, optimum value propositions, service offerings, products for your customer. And how do you create the moments of wow in terms of what you're delivering. And the third and very important aspect wherein we always face a bit of a challenge at an enterprise level is how do you translate it to the delivery side. I can go and sell whatever I wish, but when my delivery teams come into picture, how do they really translate that vision and bring into life, right? So, and that in fact starts from every phase of how we look at the delivery aspect. How are you recruiting the talent? Earlier, it was only on technical skills. You would look at, oh, you're great in Java. Let us get you in. And, that was the key parameter of getting people. Now you're looking at how you see the spark in the individual. Whether the person has the potential, the passion, do they think that there's a vision align or not? So you look at that perspective. Then about the project onboarding, how are you initially putting in the right team? How do you create that sense of accountability within each member? I come from the testing background, so I will talk about it. As a tester, I need to ensure that I'm not just testing a piece of code. I'm looking at it in terms of the kind of product that my customer is envisioning, the kind of business problem that is being solved at that big picture level. And then the actual delivery, feeding in the feedback from the customer, being agile enough to act on that and getting things tied together for the delivery. So I think for an enterprise, customer-centric agility is primarily the whole reason, the whole and sole reason, and the belief of being and the success tagged to it. Now, coming to your controversial part of the question, I think billability, revenue maximization is equally important at an enterprise level because that's what we talk about. The numbers always, we keep on saying people matter, results count. So end of the day, the results are very important. And, if I can be really, really honest, I've worked with a lot of different customers. I see that we do talk about customer centricity and the agility aspects, but really translating it down at every level is still a challenge. And it gets lost when you're talking about KPIs because it's a very delicate balancing act, in my opinion, very difficult to achieve. But I'm seeing that shift. There is definitely a shift. The needle has started moving and thankfully in the right direction. So I think there is a change happening. It's not going to be an overnight change, as everybody would definitely recognize that. But there is a change. This whole concept about customer-centric agility and putting the customer at the core of everything is definitely coming into picture. The other aspect to it, if I can take another 30 seconds, is bringing not just the customer at the core, but also your employees at the core. Because if your employees are accountable, they understand what they're doing, they will definitely produce good results. And I keep on repeating it to my teams as well. Happy employees means happy customers. It just gets translated. It's as easy as that. You take care of your people will take care of your customers. So the billability, revenue maximization is important, but it's a delicate balancing act.
Thank you, Lisa. I completely agree on that. I think you answered it in the right context. No, while important, obviously we can't deny that billability and revenue are important. I think one key point: the happy employees makes happy customers, which is actually a proven statement. And now there is a Gallup survey you can refer in the web, wherein the engaged employees actually bring in more than 20% sales in any organization. So that's how it is important when we are actually customer centricity. When we talk about customer centricity, it is not only customers. So we also make sure the employees are happy and engaged, which in turn bring more customers into the folder. And that's where more customers, obviously, more written business and more revenue and more share value and so on and so forth. So that's equally important. Thanks for bringing that. And so now let's move on to the why part of it. So now let's try to understand why customer centricity and agility are the critical factors in enabling the success in an organization. Shirish, if you can talk about that.
Oh, that was very simple. Okay. So why customer-centric agility is important? Because it's the smartest thing to do. Yeah, it's basically, honestly, the smartest thing to do, because being where the customer is, and selling at the right time, the right thing, you are obviously in the business of making profits. So it makes sense to do this the right way. Again, just to go through a couple of examples, right? So when I was working with Microsoft, we were a part of the data and AI team. We built a platform called Sports Development Platform. So this is something that was used by La Liga. A variant of it was used by FIFA and all of that. Fairly large project. In fact, I have a T-shirt that's signed by all La Liga players. So yeah, the biggest challenge there was it's not about engaging with the customers, in that case the fans, when the matches were being played in season. There's no problem, right? Everybody wants to understand what's happening with the players, the matches, the fixtures, etc. But the troughs are very, very low. When there is no season, what do you do with the platform then? How do you continue to engage with your fans in the off-season scenario? We all talk about Hotstar having peak viewership in IPL and all of that. But what happens after that? You can't be having IPL 24/7, 365 days in a year, right? So I guess that's where, again, I'm sure the panelists will talk about technology coming to the aid and being an enabler. That's when you have to be thinking about customer centricity. Good times don't last. So what do you do when your customers are not very engaged? So that's an important aspect to consider, because if you don't do that, then you don't have a platform to sell in the next season. Similarly, I'm part of a new startup right now where we're working on virtual reality for neurotic mental illness patients. So we're basically saying you have a virtual reality headset, you put it on, you imagine, instead of imagining you are in a beach and doing a meditation exercise, the virtual reality experience will be immersive and you'll actually see a beach and it is easier to meditate, right? So we thought it was a fantastic idea and all of that. And we said, let's pilot this. But then somebody said, but what about a mountain? I want to be praying in a mountain. I want chants in a mountain area. Somebody else said Tibetan singing bowls are extremely soothing music. Can I have that audio track? Right? So that somebody is actually a customer. So you can't be building for one thing and say this is going to work for everybody. So why is customer-centric agility important? You can't be building for each and everybody's fantasies. You will have to build a platform that caters to all of that and gets the right thing to the right person delivered at the right time. Yeah, so that's why I think it's the smartest thing to do. And that's why I think it's extremely important for you to stay in business and continue to stay relevant. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Shirisha. I think another important point that Shirisha mentioned is personalization. Okay, so when we talk about customers, so when let's say an organization has X number of customers, you can't apply the same process and no same tools and techniques, whatever we call it, whatever we learn in the organization to each and every customer. That never works. So we need to understand, personalize to the customer what exactly works in the customer environment. No, we always talk about, no, even when we as a customer buying a product also, we always look at the same way, how we can put ourselves into the customer shoes. That's the statement we talk about. So we need to understand, do that personalization and customization, what we call it as in certain cases. So we need to understand what is that personalization and customization that we can do for each and every customer. So that is also important. And this can be more in case of a startup, because the results are immediately visible. So let's hear Tirupati's view also, why customer-centric agility is critical factor in enabling success in an organization.
And thanks, Venkat, actually. That's an interesting question, basically. So why part is, I say, it's not only for the startup, it's also for the established enterprise. Why is both, survivable and sustainable? For a startup, if you look at, right, it is a question of survivability. They have to adapt to the dynamics of the customer requirements to deliver, to survive. Now, for an enterprise, it has to weather the changing dynamics of the market to sustain. So there is no option, whether it's a startup or an established enterprise. Now let us look at few of the things, the good things and the bad things. What if you look back to the history? you know, customer-centric agility. Before I go back and quote, I would like to emphasize on what Lisa said. One of the best point of employees. I would like to further extend that thought and say, customer doesn't mean the only person who is going to use your product or the services. The person who is joining an organization, we need to look at business and business persons as two different entities, including the business person, I say, who is joining your group. He's also a customer to you because he's buying in your idea, your goals, your objectives, your vision. You sold it to him. He's investing his own. There is a, he is also a customer. Okay. So extending her thought, right? The customer is not only the end, it is present everywhere. 360 degrees what you speak about. So very well point. I just wanted to emphasize on that. Coming back to why, this part is, if you look at back to some of the historical examples, right? What happened to Nokia? There were the days, when I heard that the Nokia phone was a collateral for some hand loan. Okay. People require some fund days to keep a Nokia phone and carry some bucks away. Now, what happened to today? That's one story before us. Okay. Now let us look at what happened to Hotmail and how its decline was arrested through rebranding as an Outlook. Outlook, the .com actually, how the Microsoft had turned over by packaging it. It did a mistake by failing to understand the pulse. The Hotmail was the first, revolution in the mailing system. Okay, but how it declined and how it was arrested back. That means here what we need to understand is the customer centric is not something everybody can understand. It's an option. Somebody is doing is succeeding. Somebody is not doing is not succeeding. The challenge here is not everybody will get right. Let us be fact and factual. We are human beings at the end of the day, even the business person, everyone. So let us understand this fact. But how do you turn around when you see? How do you continuously monitor? Is there is a continuous, there's one point I think Parul or somebody quoted, I forgot. There's a continuous, evolution. It happens on a step-by-step phase. Okay. So that's what we see, we see many examples, how being customer-centric, a bookseller, online bookseller, have gone into a multi-brand retail. I will not name it. Now he is ruling the infra and the software services space. Even the guys who were producing, okay, infra, like IBM, HP and all, they're not even competing with him today. Okay. So you can understand obviously who is he. Customer-centric, agility, and one more point, what she said, the speed in, encashing on an opportunity and expanding your business beyond AR, VR, you spoke about, how it can be taken about. Okay. So customer-centric believe it is not an option. It is not unidirectional. It is not at one end. It is everywhere around you. Okay. And you need to understand the risk of walking this path. There's a chance of failure. But it is not only the mindset and the thought process, it is also the process around it. Okay, to ensure that whenever you're falling, you get back to that. So that is a brief next.
Thank you, Tirupati. I think no, there are many examples we can quote. I think you mentioned a couple of examples as well. So I can remember one example, the BlackBerry itself. So no, it's kind of no go-to phone in my early career. No, without BlackBerry, we can't even move a day out. So it's very popular messaging service, very technology, hi-fi phone. But over the time, it completely died. So the reason being, it is not, there are two aspects to it. One is agility. It is not up to the trend, market trend. And there are a lot of changes happening in the mobile industry, and BlackBerry was not able to catch up. And second is customer centric. So the customer experience of the app store, suppose if you look at in BlackBerry, is in comparison to iPhone or any other provider, which is pathetic. So they're not able to redo. They have done actually afterwards, but that's late in the game. So that these are a couple of aspects I think we need to look at it. Many examples we can quote in the timeline. Many popular organizations that you remember from 90s and 2000, so where completely died because of these two aspects, because of not so customer centric and not being agile. So let's, and in the interest of time, so let's move on to the question about how, okay? So let's look at, now we talk about startup approach to customer centricity. So let's look at one question about how does exactly the startup approach to customer centricity differ from that of an established enterprise? Sirif, again, coming to you from the startup standpoint.
Sure. Yeah. The pros everybody knows, I guess. Startups are customer centric by definition. You are in the business to solve a particular problems, and then that's what you do. Of course, there's a lot of effect of the leadership that we spoke about. I was looking at the hearts and the spades and all of that earlier. There is a vision. You sell the vision to employees. The employees kind of buy into that vision, and you build for it. So that's the difference. I don't think you need to explain it through a framework or a process or whatever else tools that are needed. It is from the horse's mouth. The founders are actually going to tell you why you're doing what you're doing. A lot of big organizations, that's something that gets lost. You don't know why you're doing what you're doing. So that's a pro. Right. And of course, there's a lot of other good stuff that happens. We don't talk about compensations here. But then the cons, right? What are the disadvantages? I guess in startups, it's all about superheroes. There's going to be 3-4 people who are going to be extremely good at what they do. They kind of stand up, they put their hand up for everything, anything. They are superheroes, literally. So that's when I guess the problem with scale comes. You are either overtly dependent on what they do and what their capabilities and talent is, or you don't have, unless you get to a technological advancement for cloning people, I guess you're going to be limited by the number of intelligent people that you have in the organization who put their hands up, because you are not going to be, you know, the general direction in which you're going. You don't know exactly what you're going to be doing in the next sprint and the next sprint. Right. So that's where startups kind of fail, because you don't scale, you don't plan for scale, you don't pause and reflect on what worked and what did not work. You don't have that time. I guess that's the only thing. That's why we hear about a Kodak and a BlackBerry and Nokia. We don't hear about a lot of other startups who don't live for more than a year, right? So yeah, I think that's the difference. You don't pause, you don't learn, you don't invest in building frameworks, you don't invest in, you know, having agile coaches, I guess. So that's possibly something that the startups should figure out a way to do and move forward. Thank you.
Okay, so I like the key messaging: hire more agile coaches in startups. No, I think many challenges when we actually scale up from a startup to an enterprise. And I understand this journey from my experience as well. But let's hear from Parul also. So what kind of challenges we get into when we scale from couple of challenges she mentioned. Do you?
So
add to that?
I agree with Shirisa when she said that, when you're at a startup stage, customer centricity and agility is inbuilt. You're getting customer feedback quickly. Decision making is simplistic because you have a lesser number of stakeholders. But as you're in that growth journey, moving into an enterprise stage, you're going to have a lot of challenges. Your customer base now suddenly increases. Decision making becomes complex because now it may be more centralized. Customer feedback, also you're not getting, the loop becomes a little bit longer. Your innovation takes a backseat. And for this, I will actually give 3 to 4 strategies that I would actually want to talk about. First is that we must have customer centricity as part of our vision. And Zappos as one of the organizations where they have it as their vision that we want to wow our customers. So if you have vision, that vision will translate into your strategy and outcomes. So have customer centricity as part of your vision. The second thing is that can we have customer feedback integrated in the entire life cycle from pre-launch, before you're in the discovery stage till you launch your product, and even after your launch, have that loop at every stage. The third is innovation should be in your DNA. So you really need to create those avenues where, whether it's an innovation hub, your hackathons, to create those ideas and make sure that you're working on those solutions have to be worked into. And the third thing is, I would say, is that decision making. How can you empower your people so that your decision making becomes decentralized? So I think these are the strategies I would highly recommend for these challenges.
Thank you very much, Parul. I think she's very pinpointed and identified the 4 strategies that she mentioned, which we can easily understand and learn from that. And let's look at now. In today's world, is now we talk about digital world. Wherever we see there is every organization, we are calling it as a digital organization now, and digital transformation is touching. There is no industry that's no, we don't have a digital transformation happening. So let's understand this spectrum about technology. In what ways can organizations leverage technology to enhance customer-centric agility, and what challenges may arise in the implementation of these technologies? Lisha, if you can.
Yeah, I think it's very easy from a technology perspective because it's how what Parul said, taking the feedback from the customer. How do you collect that feedback? Not just from your existing customer, but also the potential customers, right? What they would want to see in your product or service offerings or your value proposition. The difficult part is when you get all of this data, which is very overwhelming, how to categorize that data so that it starts making sense. The other aspect to it is how do you ensure that your decision making is enabled through the insights that you're generating, because the data that you're getting is in raw form. So how do you categorize it? How do you start deriving the insights, and how do you make it actionable so that you are putting it back to your team so that they can start working on it? And the third perspective, it's more around, now you have got the data, you have the actions planned. How do you ensure that everybody in the organization has access to that data? That is also very important. And that is where we fail as an enterprise, because enterprises are big, right? And you would not be able to percolate that data to every level. The biggest challenge there is the data sanctity or the security of the data, which was one of the sessions today, that when you are sharing this data to everybody in the organization, what is the level of sharing that you can do which is relevant for that person, so that it doesn't become too much, and there is the data privacy and security aspect that comes into picture. And I think in today's world, the biggest challenge is around the skill set of how you can really look at that data and then analyze it and action on it. I think these are primarily the challenges, but I really believe technology is there. You've got all of these flashy buzzwords, Gen AI, AI, ML, everything. So you have the technology, which is in my opinion, the easiest thing to implement, but really how you take it and then how you process that data and put it across in the real world so that it is practical and feasible for you is a challenge.
Okay, so I think very valid point. How we make use of the technology, and especially the data and insights part of it, to leverage, especially making sure the customer-centric approach is followed. So one in the similar lines, she mentioned about artificial intelligence, machine learning, generative AI. There are a lot of buzzwords. So is it make some sense? So I know certain organizations are already using these technologies. Let's say a customer service bots. Okay, so there's certain organizations using the complete front desk operations using generative AI. So is there any trends happening in this area, Tirupati?
I think this very interesting question. Before I get into the question, I just wanted to say a couple of lines on the technology. We feel that technology has evolved and it has grown into an ocean, right? I have a different perspective. When it was invented, it was 0, 1. Today also it's 0, 1. Machine understands 0, 1. It's just a 2 droplets of water. What we have done with that 0, 1 to what now we call an ocean of technology. Now think if 0, 1 can get up to here, what this can take us. So that's what technology dimensionality is about. It is almost similar to this space. Okay. Now coming back to the the question of how the AI, ML, and this space can help. We were discussing in a group, and somebody asked me, we all know about Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk ne ek kara. I think you understand Hindi a bit, okay? If or not, I'll stick to English, okay? They said then Elon Musk is taking people to space, okay? Elon Musk is creating a driverless car. He's doing so much. What are you gonna do? I said, I'm gonna look other way around. He's looking to the sky and looking to the ground. So he's taking people to space. I will ensure the lives of the common people is improved. So Chandigarh University, we have given a solution of a very economical. They said budget is this much for Uttarakhand government. How to do about? So we have done a POC. We went and Chandigarh University reached out to us. Then we've helped as a part of this. This was through Capgemini as a part of the social fabric. So we went ahead and it's a low-cost solution. How automatic traffic signals can be helped. The ambulance can be thrown. How the work of the sanitation worker can improve upon. How we can help our, the law and order system to save our people from the malicious intent people by suspicious activity tracking and surveying and informing. I think technology is all about looking around us, okay, and improving our life. We have heard, I think, right from our schooling, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, because Kisan produces, Jawan secure. I say we people are both. We produce and secure. Okay, whether it is lives, data, or anything. I think what we are doing with technology is not doing by being customer centric. We are not making a money out of it, not doing it for somebody else. If I'm working for a banking and improving the banking system, it's for me. If I'm working for an automobile and improving that manufacturer unit for better car, it's for me because we are bettering our lives. We are a part of the society. Being a customer centric, you are self centric. Okay, so that is what I can say. Technology advancement, if you can talk about the few of things, what we are doing is how, you can, the modernization we talk about, when say application modernization to data modernization, I think we are going by the way of automating it all and giving the individuals to work on the, classical problems and more intellectual problems rather than the redundant. These are the few things, Venkat.
Perfect, Tirupati. No, thanks a lot for that. So there are actually many dimensions I want to talk about with the great panel we have here. So I want to talk about the leadership dimension. So how exactly the leadership viewpoint from the customer-centric employee engagement perspective that we touched upon. So, but I think Vinay is already showing me signal from there for its third signal already. Exactly. So if we stay for another minute. So, but before that, no, I want to give opportunity to the participants here. So, I hope all this discussion makes sense to each one of you. And if you have any questions you want to ask to any particular panelist here, go ahead and ask. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Hi. Sorry. So I wanted to ask everyone, how does the addition of tech stack, okay, when you move from startup to an enterprise, so that's what happens. You keep on increasing your tech stack. So how does the agility play around? Is it directly proportional? Does it go directly proportional, or does it go the other way around? That's something which is there, okay, and that's one thing which I wanted to like talk about for everyone, because these are the kind of questions that I was getting. So I thought
Yeah. Investing ahead at a startup level absolutely makes sense from a tech stack point of view. If you're putting together something as simple as an enterprise edition of a GitHub, for example, right? So penny wise, pound foolish. Don't get there. Try and do the right things at a foundational level. Then you will not have too much of a technical debt to worry about. Right? So scaling always is a problem. You end up giving money to the AWSs or the Azures of the world. But then don't for a minute also think that, why do I need to use a cognitive AI services of Azure? Why cannot I not build it? I'm smart enough. Don't do that. Be generous in praise about your own capability, competence, but don't be foolish either. Try and leverage what is out there in the world. Things are improving by the day, but absolutely build the foundation right. Don't cut corners. Then the expansion will not be that bad. Yeah, thanks.
I just want to add one more thing to it, that it's important that as you're scaling, because scaling always doesn't have to happen from startup to an enterprise. It can also be in an organization which is in growth path. A lot of times it is important that you actually work on your tech strategy. Don't ignore that tech strategy part where you actually do a discovery, identify where are the bottlenecks, where are the problems, and then resolve them rather than just continuing. So invest in tech strategy, work on it, find your problems, and then find solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And in the interest of time, so in case of any questions, y'all can utilize the network break, and probably y'all can take the LinkedIn LinkedIn information and post them in their message. So yeah. So before we conclude this segment, I want to extend a sincere thanks to everyone who joined us here. So your insights and candid conversations have been both enlightening and inspiring, providing us with a deeper understanding of customer-centric agility. So as a token of appreciation, we would like to felicitate you all with a memento and a gift hamper. So I would like to invite Mr. Vinay Tarala, who is a conference chair, to present the memento to our moderator, Mr. Venkat. I would like to call upon stage Ms. Suma Pathar, the conference director, to present the memento for Ms. Parul Bhargava. Suma, here. All right, I would like to call. She's coming? Okay, Suma is here. Round of applause, guys, for Parul Bhargava. Next, I would call upon a stage Saujanya, to the General Secretary, to present the memento to Lisha.
Now I call on Mr. Krishna Chaitanya to present the memento and gift hamper to Mr. Tirupati Rao. Not there? Manohar, could you please give the memento to Tirupati Rao? Yes. And last but not the least, I invite Mr. Seshuganti to present our memento and gift hamper to Ms. Sirisha. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, after such an invigorating fireside